Welcome to Tell the Damn Story, the show that explores the many ways to navigate the successes and failures that aspiring and struggling writers face to make your journey that much easier.
Oh,
Wow.
hi, Alex. This heat wave. Oh, it's giving me the vapors.
Yeah, somehow I'm sort of enjoying, the sun
Well,
and the
you got that.
waves and the
You got
palm
the
trees.
spot. You got the spot. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, most places in America and Europe and other spots of the world are a little on the heated side this week
Yes,
as
it's
we
burnt buns for days.
as we melted to what is our 240. It's a 222nd episode. 222nd episode.
Actually, I'm
Uh,
sorry, it's 422nd episode.
Use my whole face. You know what? It's the heat. It's getting
Yeah,
to
that's
the
melting
brain.
the brain.
422nd episode of Tell the Damn Story. I'm Chris Ryan. That guy there, Alex Simmons, or if he's somewhere else on your screen, still Alex Simmons,
That's right.
legend. And we're going to talk about we're talking about is there anything we could do heat related? And the thing to do when it's this hot is just take some time off, get some cool drinks, maybe some nice snacks, and watch an old film.
Yes, especially if
And
the new films aren't doing it for you.
right. I mean, well, a lot of the newest films, I really enjoyed Supergirl and all that stuff, but you gotta leave the house for that, right? We're talking about not wanting to leave the AC. That's the kind of heat we
I gotta
got.
make it from the house to the car.
I don't want to do it. What happened to Lucy? Well, she almost made it to the car, and then it was just a puddle. She
Yeah.
was turned into a squonk. That's it. Just cried herself into a puddle. Yeah, we don't want that kind of stuff. So you stay home, see what you. And God bless us, we're in an age where you can find so many old films. So we thought we would talk about a few that stand the test of time and why and how that can apply to our own writing. Right. So this is kind of a beat the heat type of episode,
Yes, it's a
right?
different kind of summer blockbuster.
It's a very different kind of summer blockbuster. It's a kind of summer AC buster. Knock on wood that it goes out. But stay cool, get yourself some nice refreshments, and consider watching one of these classic films. And we're going to make an argument of what parts of it make each of these films stand the test of time. All right. So, since we were talking about heat, Alex, you said you had a starter for us.
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
Uh,
yes.
why don't you get up at bat first there, sir?
Okay. Okay, well, classics. And sometimes when you say classics to people of the younger persuasion, they go, "Oh, you mean like Barbie?" I'm sorry, I'm
Way
being
back
cruel.
that far? Hey,
I'm being cruel. I'm being cruel. But no,
although that
sometimes,
was a summer classic.
they are talking about the last 2 or 3 years. And we can talk about further back than that because, all right, so other than Stone Age paintings, one of the ones that was a major hit in the 1960s and had something to do with heat too, was In the Heat of the Night with Sidney Poitier, Rod Steiger, and a cast of character actors who earned their paychecks. And
Yes.
what had happened was one of my writing students had said to me, why do we, what's relevant about, those old movies, or why do we have to watch all these old movies? What do we have to learn from that? There's all these new things, and they sort of speak to us. And I went, okay, let's talk about that. So I gave them the opening sequence of the film, right? I first let them read it from the script, because they have
Right.
a copy of the script, and then I showed it to them. And initially they were going, oh, okay, because the pacing is a little slow in the beginning. They're setting it up. They're introducing you to some of the supporting characters first. And even when we meet the prime character the very first time on the screen, we only see a portion of him. We don't get the whole full effect. So it's like a slow burn kind of thing, right? Burn, heat. Haha. See how I did that? Okay. Oh God, help me. All right. So we get into it, and I let the first 10 minutes build just the way it was stacked in the film. And by the end of the sequence, when I stopped it, they went, wait, is this on television or someplace I can see this? I said, yeah, it is. Why? Because the basics of any good storytelling, especially in your act one, whether it's a book or a screenplay, is you introduce the characters, you introduce the conflict,
Right.
and you introduce some form of, some sense of a cliffhanger. In other words, oh, that just happened. What's going to happen next? What could happen next? And the way this was done, even back in the day, built so sweetly with all of its social elements and everything else that they wanted to know, well, wait a minute, I got to watch this, which was exactly a quote. I got to check this out.
And that, of course, is the goal of any storyteller, right? So let's take a moment and go back and say, well, how would you achieve that? Well, you get your first draft and you get all the way through and you see where you want it to go. And then you start cogitating. There's a word.
Yes.
How do
Avery
I?
Brooks said it once.
That's right.
Yeah.
How do I put little seeds in the first, say, 10 minutes to get people wanting to know where this journey, where this ride is going to take them? And that's called rewrite. That's called seeding. And that's why Alex and I always celebrate rewriting, not as a period of time where you fix your terrible errors, but as a time where you get to layer more creativity on and where you get to polish a good idea to a great idea.
May I add one other thought to that?
Yes, you can, sir.
The other word I love to use because they see it in action as they do it is you get to discover things about your story, things
Right.
you hadn't even considered.
And then you get to go and put them in such a way that the audience can discover it and make it feel like it's organic. It's a great trick, not a trick, it's a great power of the writer, right? To go back and massage, go back and rewrite, go back and seed so that the finished draft becomes a film or a television or a book or a short story that smoothly takes the reader, engages the reader, and makes the reader want to turn the page or keep watching or get through the commercials to get to that's the
Hit the
end
skip button
goal.
on YouTube.
Right. That's the end goal. Okay. And we do it through rewrite. Now, I do have to take care of a bit of visual business.
Okay.
In case people are watching this on YouTube and saying, does Ryan got a booger hanging out of his nose? No, I don't. Okay. What I did was I switched to a new razor and I cut myself shaving.
Ah, that's what it is.
And yeah. So people say, well, isn't he kind of old to still be making that mistake? Hell no. So now that now that you know, and it won't bug you anymore.
But
Right. We can continue. So there we have our first point, and we're going to repeat that idea of the power of the rewrite, the gift of rewriting. But is there anything else you want to say about In the Heat of the Night?
not in the heat of the night. I have some other oldies, but I want to hear from you right now
All
because
right. Well,
I'm here to learn too. I'm here to
I'm
learn.
gonna go with it's almost mandatory watching every summer. It's a little over 50 years old, might be 51 years old or something, but it still stands up no matter how hard it was to make, no matter how impossible it proved to be. When the finished product was unleashed on the public, there was lines around the door, and it gave birth to the idea of the summer blockbuster. We're talking about Jaws. Yeah, and Jaws is fascinating to watch because so much of it works. And it's again a thing where each element added on to the success of it. Every catastrophe added the immortality of the finished product because everybody involved continued to be creative.
Had to
Bruce the
be.
Shark,
Had to be.
yeah, Bruce the Shark didn't work the way he was supposed to work. They wound up showing the shark itself much less often than they had intended to, and it wound up, once Spielberg said, well, how do I make that engaging, you know, and getting different shots and following from the shark's point of view so that you didn't have to worry about the shark not working. You know, think of that opening sequence where we see the swimmer whose girlfriend's slightly drunk, God bless her, but you see from up and it's the shark's point of view, right? That was trying to overcome the mistake of Bruce being such a
Goofy mechanical mess.
failure, just a mechanical mess,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And then oh God, how can I forget the composer of the score?
I'll look it
Williams.
up.
I think it was Williams.
What, John Williams?
I think it was John Williams, where he came and said to Spielberg, I have the main theme for the shark. And it was really just two notes. Dun, dun,
You're right, John
dun,
Williams.
dun, 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 right? And we know that music now for our whole lives. But when Spielberg first heard it, he laughed. What are you talking about? Two notes. And Williams said, listen. Dun, dun, dun. And again, being open to the possibilities is one of Spielberg's great gifts. And he heard that and said, how could this go? And I think it was Williams who said, I want it as a cello or something. I forget what the exact instrument. Musicians out there, please, in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong. But that openness and that creativity where, what can I do? A lesser composer would play a flurry of notes. The simplicity of it is what worked. And again, when we sit and watch it, we're not thinking about, well, when did that music come into it? It becomes organic, right? So the rewrite, adding the score is part of the rewrite, and then so you have the overcoming obstacles. We all have obstacles when we're writing. Rather than say, this sucks, I can't do that, say, well, what's the opportunity it's presented? How else can I get around this in a creative way to serve the story? That's the holy thing, to serve the story, right? And then you want to look at plot and character. Sid Field, who was big in the 80s on how do you write scripts, right? He used to say plot is character and character is plot, right? If we look at this film, not all the characters are exactly the way they are in the book. There's a couple things that go on in the book that I didn't want to see.
And it's called adaptation, by the way.
Yes, it's called adaptation, but what I'm trying to do is kind of give a backhanded compliment that they adapted it really well. They got rid of some unsightly parts. In the book, the sheriff's wife has an affair with the Richard Dreyfuss character. I have no use for that plot point, and it's better without it. The story's better without it because it's a distraction. The idea of the three. You'll notice there's a lot of movies that have three characters. One is the center, and then there's the logical side and the emotional side. And here we have the Dreyfuss character as a logical side, as fired up as he gets, and the Robert Shore character as the emotional. On another level, it's educated versus practical hands-on knowledge, right? It's the
Academic
class,
versus life
right?
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, all of that. And the sheriff's in the middle. He's somewhere in the middle of that. And that kind of each foil arguing and bouncing off, that creates a dynamic tension that helps drive the movie,
Which you will find in some of the also very popular present day films, including, I'm thinking of the last two iterations of Bad Boys. There's a lot of that going on between not only the Will Smith and, oh my goodness, Martin Lawrence character, but there's always another character that they're
Right.
bouncing off. It becomes
Right.
that
Whether
middle player.
in one of them it was the young girl, or she was an adult, but she,
Yeah.
she was the almost the MacGuffin. And you look at Star Trek, those three,
Yeah.
right? Bones, Spock, and McCoy, or Kirk, Spock, and McCoy,
I knew
right?
what you meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Star Wars, it's
Star Wars,
Luke and Solo and Princess Leia initially.
right. And it goes on, even the Avengers, predominantly the original 25 movies. Mostly there's an ongoing dynamic between Iron Man and Captain America, and then whoever else is in that scene. Often it's Bruce Banner, or sometimes it's Thor, or sometimes it's Nick Fury, but it's the
Or
it's the
Scarlet,
very two
Black Widow,
very
rather.
different points of view, and then there's that great switch that goes on. But for Jaws, it's a combination of, especially in the summer, it's where we'd like to be, especially in the heat. I'd love to be in the ocean. I'd love to be in the pool, right? And then, oh, do you want to be in the ocean?
Just when you thought it was safe
Yeah.
to go back to the
Uh,
water.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a nice mix. You can watch that film just to see the mix of drama and humor. You have to be able to do it to a point where the mix is correct, and rewrites can fix that. Sometimes you can find yourself still cracking jokes later in the story, and it may be hurting the story. Well, you
Pacing
can
or otherwise.
change
Yeah.
those. If and spoilers for a 50-plus-year-old movie, the sheriff is pointing a weapon at the shark at one point and says, "Smile, you bastard," right? And that's a funny line, but it's not delivered as a funny line. It's delivered as tension. It's
Hmm.
delivered as determination. And somehow in the retelling on the way out the door or the way home, that becomes a funnier line than in the moment. Those are things that develop as you go through your rewrites. Jaws is, man, I know you're all saying, I've seen it so many times. It is the perfect movie to use for your summertime homeschooling analysis. Watch it for the fun, then rewatch it for how well it works,
Do,
despite all the things that went wrong.
do you have another one?
I do, if you want me to.
Yes, I want you to do another one, and then I'm going to go, like I said, way back. Way
Okay. This might shock some people.
back.
You might say, wait,
Hark!
is he stealing? Is he absconding with the Alex
Absconded.
Simmons
Ooh, I
time
love it when
machine?
he uses that kind of language.
Is he absconding with the Alex Simmons time machine? We'll see.
Okay.
But the glorious one and I,
Yes.
we do have a thing that we like to do every once in a while, especially in the summer on an evening. We like to watch some old movie that she's never seen.
Oh,
So
okay.
last weekend we saw, and it's just fortuitous because it fits so well into this, but we saw The Fly from 1958
Oh, with Vincent Price.
with Vincent Price.
Yes. Yes.
That film holds up as entertainment so well. It is well crafted, it is well acted. The frights are definitely gloriously 1950s drive-in movie style, but that they're a hoot. They're a hoot,
What can you do with a
and
rubber mask?
yeah, you don't get to enjoy those if you have to slog through a crappy film. This is definitely, absolutely 100% a B movie. Yes, but it's a classic B movie. The one gift that is really mandatory to mention about Vincent Price is that brother never mailed it in. He always, no matter how bizarre the story, he he worked his range, and he was a character actor range, but
Hmm.
he would work that. Here he's less creepy and more earnest, and there's one or two elements of the story where creep could have come in, because but he's such a gentleman in this movie. The woman of his dreams fell for his brother, and he just that's who she loves. And as the plot, very sci-fi horror plot, unfolds, he stays loyal to everyone and does the best he can. And what happened is obvious, but we also understand how it couldn't possibly be something anyone would guess at. And when they come to the reveal that both the chief inspector and Vincent get to witness, it's a really great twist. Corny 50 special effects, sure. Hilarious voice, Sure. But what the chief does and how Vincent sees that as a complete reversal of forcing the chief to a complete reversal and saving the woman he loves is well worth seeing. And the 50 special effects are just priceless. But I would use that as somewhere that holds up because the filmmakers, even though they were making a B film, took their material seriously. The performers took it seriously. The characters were crafted to a point where the strength of the characterizations could carry this ludicrous premise seriously. And then the effects were as best they could be for the time. It really works as a B movie. And some people say, why the hell would I want to spend time with a B movie? Because, you think you're going to have the $1 billion budget, but most of us wind up with $8.50.
I'm
So
gonna. I'm sorry. I didn't
learn
mean
from
to.
the B movies, brothers
And I
and
also want to
sisters.
point out that I took a look at who wrote it, the screenplay, and there was a
Yes,
story
sir.
that was based on it. It's James Clavell, who gave us Shogun and
Okay.
several other New York Times best-selling novels. So don't poo-poo,
Yeah.
because everybody had to start somewhere, and everybody puts a certain amount of their quality into their work as they're building their reputation and their inventory. So
And
yeah, absolutely.
storytellers be telling us stories.
That's
You
right.
know, you're working, you're working. So just keep at it. Tell the story and serve the story. Sir, I turn
Yes.
it over to you, sir.
Thank you. I'm going to just springboard off of what you were saying by
So I
hey,
was about
yes,
1958.
clap, clap,
I can't
clap.
wait to see where you go.
Oh,
Ladies and gentlemen,
yes.
this is the time to strap in to the Alex Simmons time machine because here we go.
First off, let me say that again, even though we weren't privy to Clavell's experience in writing this story or the screenplay being developed and all of the points that Chris mentioned earlier and that I mentioned within the Heat of the Night apply. Building up that first act, building in character development, as he said, you have the triangle. You have the brother, played by Vincent Price, and whose the other brother is his brother rather, is the
Scientist.
person that the young lady has fallen in love with. And
Oh,
there's your
she's
triangle.
married to him. She has a kid.
Yeah, there's your
So
triangle right there,
that's right.
right?
Yeah.
All right. And then
And then it becomes when the scientist can't be seen anymore, it becomes the woman, then the wife, Vincent, and the inspector. So you can see how the two different triangles bounce off each other to advance the story. But
okay.
that triangle of characterization, pretty fun to take a good look at.
And again, building first introduction of character, and then the conflict, and then building or raising the stakes as you go to eventually the climax and reveal. So where I'm going in my Wayback Machine, I'm going to throw the throttle fully forward and zap all the way back to 1921.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, all right. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. We talked about comedy, we talked about suspense, we talked about horror.
You're talking about a still photo?
Yeah, exactly. You have to draw this one. You have to pen and ink, right? Mr. Charles Chaplin, Charlie
Oh,
Chaplin,
yes.
silent film. Okay, folks, there's talking, there's lip moving, right? And then there's reading the words on the screen. So it's not a lot of volume here, not a lot of written words on the screen.
Which
But
Chaplin classic are we talking about?
yes, I'm about to reveal. Funny you should ask.
Well,
Funny you
thank you,
should
sir.
ask.
I try to serve.
The Kid.
The Kid.
Yes.
Wow.
See, now I could have gone City Lights or Modern Times. No, The Kid. Because
I
The
haven't thought of The
Kid
Kid in years, and oh, I feel good. Go ahead.
was a perfect blend of humor or comedy, social commentary, and heartfelt emotional pain or stress rather, in terms of the family. What does the family mean? What is it to love someone, even if that someone wasn't originally yours? wasn't even
Yeah.
originally your responsibility. What is it like? And so I'm just going to, again, 1921. So if you haven't seen the film, any spoilers I'm going to hit you with now, hey, that's too damn bad, right? But the setup is Chaplin's character, who's a bit of a vagabond looking kind of character. He doesn't have fancy clothes or anything. He's living in a poor section of the community, and his job is replacing window panes in people's windows when they get broken. That's his job. And it's not a very lucrative gig either, you know. As a matter, when we first meet him, he's walking around through some of the alleyways, and he's got holes in his shoes and his gloves, and he picks up a cigarette butt off the street and he saves them in a little tin because that's what he smokes. But here's the setup. Here's this character now. He's not the hero of Wealth or any of that kind of stuff. A couple of scenes earlier than that, these two car thieves stalk out this limo of that era as a couple gets out and goes into their affluent home. Well, they're thinking about this car. Well, a woman comes by, not connected to the home, comes by and places her baby in the back seat of this limo. And we realize, again, through very limited information and a little bit of visuals, that she has just been released from a hospital where she had a baby out of wedlock. In 1921,
Scandalous.
oh, the shame, the absolute shame. It cannot be known that I've had a baby, and I can't possibly raise a baby by myself without a husband. So she thinks if I leave this baby in the backseat of this limo, these wealthy people will take it in and do well by it, and off she scurries. She's heartbroken by it. It's not like, oh, let me dump the kid. This is horrible for her, and she's even thinking about ending her life. So we get all of that visually. And then the thieves steal the car, not knowing the baby's in the back.
Wow.
They drive to the same alley we saw Charlie in, you know, and they're looking at the car and they know we got this, and they find the baby. And being the great human beings that they are, they take the baby, he's wrapped in a blanket, they put him by a trash can in the alley and drive off in the car. Charlie comes along, finds the baby, thinks, who the heck dropped the baby out? And he wants to sort of lose the baby, but then he notices there's a woman with a carriage just further down the alley. So he takes the baby, puts it in the carriage, figures, I've done my part, and starts to walk off. And the woman comes out, what are you doing? Take your kid. And so he goes through a series of things where he can't get rid of the baby until the point of where he realizes the baby is kind of cute. The baby is just this, it didn't ask for this. And I can't just dump it. And he falls for the kid and decides to raise it. And then we do a jump cut to the kid being about maybe 6 years old. And the story really takes off from there.
Some classic Chaplin moments.
Classic. And the things that go, so you've got him being a single father of a child that's not actually his own, but he's raising him, he's providing for him. We have the woman who gave up the child and really kind of regrets all of that and actually would love to have the child back, but she knows that's not possible. So we're watching her going through, and she eventually meets the guy who was the father, and he didn't know what had happened. So there's all of that going on. Then you have I guess you would call it the foster care system, that they're thinking, well, this man is totally, when they find out this man is totally unfit to raise a child, we're going to take the child and put it in a foster home or put it in the orphanage. And how Charlie has to fight for this child because this is his child now. So again, you're getting all of these moments interwoven into this massive film, written, starring, and directed by the same guy, Charlie Chaplin.
So why does this stand up from 1921 to 2026, sir?
Because unfortunately, with the possible exception of, okay, now you can be a single parent, you can have a woman have a child out of wedlock. Yeah, it's not you don't have to pay the social price that they did back in the day. But other than that, the social care system is faulty.
Sure.
Understanding the dynamics of caring for a child if you've adopted a child or if a child is being abused in some way and then being thrown into the system, unfortunately still exist. There's all of these other elements, and how the relationships develop, even in a silent film with humor much of the time, it's still the human story of what is love and what is responsibility, and what will I do to save someone that I love the most? And I think those universal themes play out. And I often say that comedy is a master, I guess, a master stage to address or approach or explore any kind of theme.
Yeah.
Because initially, comedy gets us to drop our guard.
Well,
We're laughing, we're enjoying things, and then suddenly we're hit with a bit of truth.
the other thing is, and it's a great exercise to watch something like The Kid because of this, is that for comedy to work, all the other elements have to be in perfect alignment. The story has to be clear, or you don't get the punchlines. The story has to be worth the journey, or the humor is just cheap,
Yeah,
you know?
slapstick
Um,
nonsense. Yeah.
so it's a great exercise for today's writers to go back and see a master like Chaplin who was working on such a limited basis. I have more filmmaking power in my pocket than Charlie Chaplin had available to him as a star of an entire studio. There's things that are in his phone that just didn't exist back then.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to do the kind of work as impeccably as he did really requires a really high level of writing or rewriting to make it perfect and smooth, and then to perform it so that it overcomes all those limitations
Mm-hmm.
and becomes a film that you can watch almost over 100 years later, right? Well, was it? It was
1921.
1921, so it's yeah,
Yes,
it's over
105
100 years.
years.
Yeah, yeah,
105 years.
and you can still sit down and
Almost as
watch
old
that.
as I am.
Yeah, well, you were 12 when it came out. I understand, but think of how much you got out of it back then, and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
film is still paying
I watched them
dividends.
shoot this.
There he was as a grip, 12 years old.
Oh, okay. Also, it speaks to, and this is something that I know both of us have shared with our students, our clients, the work that we do. Don't lose sight of the story you're trying to tell. Don't lose sight of the theme you're exploring. Chaplin's theme was not the humorous moments that he placed within or intersected within the film. It was the story of this child and this man and the love that grew between them and family, even this sort of patchwork family, the power of that and what he would do to protect that. All the other things were elements that broadened the story, gave us more of this world to explore.
Right.
But absolutely, he did not lose sight of what he was trying to say.
That's a huge statement to make because in the pantheon of comedians, Chaplin is still considered one of the most enormous talents. And all that Chaplin-esque physical comedy was only used to serve the story. That
Absolutely.
might be the biggest lesson. You can
Mhm.
watch crappy comedies all day long and you'll see they're trying to make the story serve the comedy. The key is everything must serve the story.
And
And
that
that's a
sounds like a
fantastic
great,
lesson.
yep, that's an absolute great lesson right there. Yeah.
There
And
you
we
go.
did
So,
it. We did it.
I
We
know we have
brought
a
that to you.
we could go on forever, but listen, it's summer. You want to reflect upon all this deep wisdom that has changed your life at a core level of your soul. You want to go and find these, I think it was 4 films that we mentioned. You want to revel in the AC while watching these films and saying, God, those two geniuses were right. And I'm going to apply this to my own writing and become better. And when I hit it big and make my billions, I'm never going to think of those two again. So hell with them, kick them to the gutter. So our job here is done.
We can ride off into the sunset like Mel
Right.
Brooks in Blazing Saddles. There's another film for you. Okay. Thanks, Chris. This
That's
has
a
been
whole
good.
different episode. Yes, it has, sir.
Yes.
Please stay cool, stay hydrated, go watch some great films, read some great books. I stumbled onto a fantastic book that I'm reading now. Maybe we can talk about it in a future episode. But I think it was like an offhand mention from another author. And I said, well, what is that? Let me look at it. Always do that, ladies and gents. Always do that. This is a fantastic book. Oh, you can go to Teal James Glenn. Teal James Glenn. You can't go go wrong with his
A
series.
Walking Shadow, book 2 of the
Fantastic.
Paradise series. Yep.
Big fun, right? Nothing
Yep.
better than a great book in the summer.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, so
Oh, and don't forget to
subscribe and comment if you
Yeah.
liked it, if you didn't like it. If you say, well, why? What about the remake of The Fly? That worked out really well, and a comparison of those two will show you how to do things differently. Sure, comment on all that.
absolutely. And we'll be here to talk about it again next
Yes.
time on Tell the Damn.
Damn story.
That's
All right, peace.
Take care,
everybody.
Chris.
Take care,
Take care,
Alex.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Peace.